Welcome to VidDevoChurch. VidDevoChurch, we have a lot of things we do that are a little bit unusual. Maybe it will inspire you to do something more with your life as a Christian than you have been doing so far. Now, I'll admit, a lot of people, they automatically pretty much have no problem, doing things selfishly. They have no problem doing things narcissistically. Usually what they have a problem with is taking Jesus with them. In other words, a lot of people like to indulge, kind of like how I'm going to indulge in this breakfast burrito my wife made, I think Saturday. But she always makes an extra one so that I can have it for recording and for lots of times because we do things with VidDevoChurch. I don't have time to eat. I'm busy. I forget to eat. So she takes care of me and provides for things, that she knows that I need in order to have sustenance. And so, I'll find these things around, and she'll have them in the refrigerator for me, and man, I'll indulge. So, on the one hand, it may be narcissistic. But it's also a necessity for me because I burn so much calories that I have to eat more than what most people do. Now, in Utah VidDevo, one of the things we're going to be doing this summer, as we're doing even now, we're preparing for and getting ready to go outside the church. Because we're, as VidDevoChurch, the only all-outdoor church, we're going to film on location throughout Utah, outside. Not a big deal, really. But if you were a city kid, like, say, growing up in LA, being outside would be like some of those comedy movies that you see where people don't know what they're doing outside in nature. We want to do that here in Utah. Not make a comedy movie, but talk about Jesus and relate to him personally on a starry, starry night, on Whitewater Rapids, in the Great Red Rock, doing the Greater Salt Lake Sea baptism, doing things that relate specifically, uniquely, and distinctly to Utah, and is something that you would find like in Lake Powell, or in the Colorado River, in the Snake River, in all these areas and canyons and mountains that make up the Utah experience, even in some of the desert areas. Because Jesus didn't just go to Judea, but he went to Samaria. He went in the way of the Samaritans. In other words, he didn't walk around Samaria. He cut through and met the woman at the well. He did things that blew people's minds. And so, we're not trying to blow anybody's mind in Utah because they're all used to these areas. And they've all done all these things because they like activities here. They're very outdoor oriented. But God wants to bless me. And God wants to encourage me. Because I used to live in Alaska. And I loved Alaska. Lived there for 10 years. Used to love Oregon. Lived there for 10 years. I really like being outdoors. Used to go hiking and camping. Some, things that couldn't really afford expensive things like boats and, big deal things that some other people will do. But when it came to the cheap, or better yet, when I lived in Oregon, free, wherever there was a charge, we would find a trail that went the opposite way that we would backtrack in so that we could get there free. So if it was free, it's me. That's what we used to do in Oregon, because in Oregon, I never made any money. But Utah has some beautiful places I'd love to go. I'd love to pay for some of these tours. I can't. But, we're going to, as the Spirit leads, go there. And one of the things that brought me to that teaching today that we're calling it Get Lost isn't the idea of going out into the wilderness and being lost. We are told that Jesus, after his baptism, was driven into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil for 40 days. When I go into the wilderness, I don't want to be tempted. The only temptation I have going into the wilderness is not to come back. But seriously, in studying today about the lost being found and the blind seeing, God gave me that idea about getting lost. Is that until you've been lost, you don't know if you're found. Some people think that they already are saved, but they were never lost in the first place. Or they don't know that they are lost. Sometimes you don't know that you're missing something until you see that something else is better, or someone's got something that you want. They got, but you don't have. And that's the way it used to be with the Jesus movement. You see, the Jesus movement wasn't just about Jesus, although that's pretty much who caused these things to happen. But it was about looking and seeing these people that were finding something that everyone else didn't have. I'm sure there were many drug addicts that went through rehab and failed miserably many times. And yet, Jesus, when he delivered someone from drugs, stayed delivered. Wow, imagine that. Or when he healed them during the Jesus movement, they were healed. They didn't go back and get sick again. I mean, just things like that, not just the miraculous, but also there was something about people having that peace that, wow, when the world was falling apart, before 9/11, yes, the world fell apart several times. Matter of fact, the 60s and 70s were a whole lot more turbulent than nowadays. I mean, I'm sorry, you may think that this is something like in society, things are like, oh no, ISIS. Man, ain't nothing compared to the riots that were going on in America regularly. And some of the bombings, stuff that we did of ourselves without it being influenced by Al-Qaeda or someplace else. I mean, come on. What do you think the Oklahoma City bombing was? Do you think that was influenced by 9/11? I think it was before that. Yes. So, or like the bomber from, the mail bomber, he was bombing people. Isn't that terrorism? Well, we don't call it that. That was American. So, we can't call Americans doing terrorism like we do with the CIA, anything except patriotism. Okay, if you say so. But never mind about all that. They don't know they're lost. So they don't know when they're found. Because they've changed their terminology to say they're patriots rather than they're terrorists. Frankly, whatever you're doing to kill someone, to me, is terrorism. I don't care if it's legal or not. To me, it's terrorism. It's terrifying. Dare I say that, something I don't want to see happen to anyone. I'd rather not see people get killed. I'd rather see people get saved. So, having said that, when we say get lost, we mean we want to go out and find the lost or share Jesus everywhere we go, meaning out there in the wilderness. We want to be like a voice crying in the wilderness, as the Great Salt Lake Sea baptism will be like. There'll probably only be one person out there. Maybe two, my wife. No, there may be a lot more. Who knows? We'll see as the Lord leads. But in going outside of your comfort zone, sometimes you'll find when you step out in faith, God will bring people to you rather than you go to them sometimes. You may go out in the wilderness so that way it's harder for them to find you. And then there'll be those ones that really want what you got. When we talked about the peace, that was what happened in the Jesus movement. People were looking for peace, love, and joy, and they found it in Jesus. They did not find it in society. Sadly, the church today is going back into society to try to find what it's missing. Well, we're losing the millennials. Yeah, you are. You have a lot of people that don't want to go to your church. You have a lot of people that don't want to have a rock star experience at church. They'll go to a rock concert for a rock star experience. Sorry, that's the way that the millennials view mega churches. And if you don't know that, just ask them. Why should they go on a Sunday when they can go Saturday night and get probably more hyped and more worked up, even with maybe some drugs thrown in on the side, than what you're offering on a Sunday morning? I got news for you. You may want to be reconsidering what you're doing when you're inside the church, acting like the world outside the church. Dare I say that the world has come inside the church? So maybe you need to go outside your own framework, your mindset, your rock star mentality, your mega pastor mentally, whatever. Because I'll be honest with you, if I was looking for feeling good, hey, I would go to an auditorium and listen to some, motivational speaker who calls himself a pastor telling me all about what God wants to do for me. You betcha, man. If you're going to tell me messages about what God's going to do for me, I'll listen to Caleb, or I'll listen to Joel Osteen, or I'll, find some power of positive thinking and go, yeah, make me feel good. I mean, that's what pot does for you, doesn't it? Or does it really just dull you to where you don't know you're not feeling good? You're lost and you don't even know it. Sadly, today, I think that's what's happened to what people don't appreciate about their everyday life. Like right here before me, in front of me, very clearly, I have this plant. I still don't know the name of it. I always forget the name. My wife tells me 100 times throughout the summer, and I'll forget it. Because to me, it's more important, the plant. And the way that it's customized and designed, the way it grows, like the leaves get bigger when I water it less, and they just go before they go, and die. But, if you balance it right, the leaves get bigger, absorbs more of the sunlight, and then poof, suddenly somewhere, like right in here, right there, little buds come up, and they're not leaves. They're flowers, and they're going to go poof all over the place, and then they're going to explode and grow and grow and grow and grow. Kind of like from Jesus' Godspell. But I appreciate it. Most people don't. They go about their life appreciating technology, being mandated to their iPod, iPad, to their device. I bought my wife a device, and she gets caught up into it a little bit, not too much, because she still can set it aside and walk away. But a lot of people today will tell me they are addicted to it. Well, I use Facebook. I'm not, mandated by Facebook. Facebook doesn't change my perspective on anything. God uses Facebook in ministry, but it's just one tool of many. VidDevo is part of that technology-oriented mentality of reaching the millennial, but reminding them creation is bigger and better and greater than anything you could imagine in your imagination or creation of things in technology. You see, we're going to go out to southern Utah and sit under the stars where there's no light so that you can see the light God provides. Now, that's a whole different story. You could create for yourself a light that'll blind you. But when you look at the universe, well, if you go out there and stay out at night sometime, like stay up maybe 2 or 3 nights in a row without a fire, stare at the stars, when it's warm, make sure you're warm. But, look at that and realize, oh my God, God created it. And then start talking to God about it. Who knows, maybe he'll just rapture you right then. I mean, he did it with Enoch, he can do it with you today. But the point is, if you're willing to go look at what God really has created, you're going to get such an overwhelming realization that you're really pretty petty about some of your struggles and trials and tribulations, because they really don't amount to a hill of beans when you're laying out at a campground, staring in the middle of the night at the universe, and then God says, I love you. And you go, oh, that's too much, God. Oh, man. Are you kidding me? You love me? Wow, I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see. Once I was deaf, but now I hear. I mean, once you know God, really, when God has spoken to you, and if you haven't experienced that, get out. Get out of wherever you are. I don't care if you're going to, the Catholic Church or the Protestant or the Mormon or the Jehovah's Witness or the Calvary Chapel or wherever you are. If you're not hearing God speak to you, get out. Get going. Get on with it. Get real. That's what we want to tell you about real life, or about, they say real video, but, real audio, real, YouTube, real this and that, the other thing. But no, get real with God. discover that the reality of your existence isn't limited by just seeing touchy-feely kind of, oh, well, I feel goosey bumpies. There's more to spiritual life, physical life, and emotional life than just, when you turn on the iPod, and put your ears in and hear some worship song. Those are nice, but they're just a shadow of things to come. The reality could be when you begin to appreciate creation and it reveals to you the Godhead. Creation can reveal the Godhead? Creation can reveal Jesus. I got news for you. Even the birds singing their songs can tell you what God wants to do with you and show you that you may never have imagined before. Imagine if God decided to just peel back the sky. Well, imagine if God decides to peel back your imagination to the realization of who He is and how He has caused all these things to come together for you to see and to know Him in a personal way. Imagine if Jesus decided to walk up out of nowhere in the middle of the desert and start talking to you like He did with Abraham. If He sat down and ate with you and then decided to get up and leave, and you go, man, was that Jesus? Ooh, was that an angel? Whoa, man, I never expected that. And that's what it is about Utah VidDevo and really VidDevoChurch. We want and expect those unexpected times for God to do those things, because I got news for you. Shh, don't tell anybody, but God has already done those things with me. Yeah, He brought angels to me and gave me money. I mean, it was trippy, but I've shared it on other videos, and man, there is no way to explain it. And I had the guy's dead today, but one of the major leading artists of the album covers, he was there with me at the time. He was just as shocked as I was. Happened in Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa's parking lot, but it was pretty cool. But the point being is this: I've already experienced these things. Don't you want to? I mean, I look forward to more so than less so of what God can do so. Because really, when we are led by the Spirit of God, we become the sons of God. And because we become the sons of God, God the Father delights in revealing to us Himself. He looks forward to meeting us and speaking with us and showing us that we once were lost and sometimes we still are lost. Except that we turn our lives over to the Father and let Him do His will for us, in us, and about us, no matter what that may be, we're never really going to understand how much He loves us, because we're still going to be thinking He's the God of the Old Testament, rather than a personal, living God. Maybe I do need to get away from the city lights, the technology rights, the privileges of being in the, industrial age that's gone to the mechanization age, that's gone to the technological age, that has removed itself so far from what God has created, that man has made himself into a God, and everything is what man has created. If your religious experience is everything dealing with what man has created, man-made songs, man-made instruments, man worship, man-made teaching, man teaching, maybe you need some, personal time with God alone. Maybe you need to be taught by God Himself for a while. Maybe you might enjoy going out into the state of Utah, as we're going to go all over the place. But, wherever we are, whatever state we're in, meaning state of affairs and state of location, then we know, because of my personal experience, that God is with us, and that God wants to reveal to us how He can show us things that we didn't think of before, how maybe we can be less man-made and more personally God-made. Because I don't know about you, but the more that I talk to Christians that are saved, the more I think there's some lost people out there that need to be found, because they haven't found that they can hear God speak. They haven't found that they can see God move. They haven't found that they can talk to God and walk with God and have God as a personal relationship, that He will whisper in your ear. He will talk to you individually. That He will be your God and you will be His people if you will follow or seek after Him. So, in Utah VidDevo, we're looking forward to going on the mountaintop experiences and the valley experiences. I mean, real mountaintops and real valleys. We're looking forward to going down the river and going up the river. We're looking forward to being on the sandbars and, the whitewaters and the calm stillness of an open mountain lake. We're looking forward to actually having, as it were, Jesus call to us, come, and maybe go walking on water. I know I tried. I got wet. Oh, well, it goes to show you that if you try to do it in your own strength and God doesn't say come, then you're going to go. But guess what? I know where you'll go. You'll go, shoo, shoo, kaplunk, and you'll hear that chunk, which sounds like a kerplunk, because it's deep waters that you're moving into, because you're trying, on the one hand, in, a good way to do what Jesus said, walk on water. But in the bad way, because you're dealing with deep, calling to deep, unless God calls you and tells you to do it, you really can't do it, no matter how much faith you got. So we are, as it were, planning on and looking forward to, and we'll be showing these Utah VidDevos to you to inspire you with what we've gone through in looking to and going throughout Southern Utah, Northern Utah, Eastern Utah, Western Utah, and other places. So being it's Utah VidDevo and part of VidDevoChurch, we want you to come along. You're invited if you want to come. No problem. Bring a kayak or camping gear and come on along. Might have room for one or two, but, because we have extra space a little bit, but, you may need to bring your own boat, meaning kayak or boat, whatever, if it's a small river, you don't want to bring a boat, or unless it's an inflatable boat, but, you get the point. So we're always open to that. People are willing, able, and more than capable that will accept anyone that wants to go camping. And I'll let you know, though, ahead of time, we do talk about Jesus because God is with us and God goes with us everywhere we go. So because God is in us, that means no matter what we're doing, no matter where we're going, no matter how we're living, we choose to listen to what God may say and then walk in a way that He can tell us what path to take, especially if you're out on a trail and you look to the left and you look to the right and both trails are going somewhat equal. Which way do you go? Well, I got news for you. You might be lost, but God can show you how to be found.